Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Laura Henriksen. I'm the Director of Learning and Community Engagement at the Poetry Project. It is such a pleasure to be here with you all and an honor to welcome tonight's readers, Gabrielle Octavia Rucker and Sean D. Henry Smith. The Poetry Project has had the great good fortune of working with Gabrielle and Sean in our Emerge Surface B Fellowship Program, and we are very grateful to their mentors in the program, Hannah Black and Fred Moten, respectively, for joining us tonight to introduce Gabrielle and Sean. Before I turn it over to them, I just have a few reminders and updates. Tonight's moderator, the wonderful Anna Kreinenberg, is adding a link to the chat now with some helpful Zoom tips and best practices. Please note that we are recording tonight's event. You are welcome to have your cameras on or off as you prefer, but just please keep in mind that if you have your camera on, it's possible your little tile will end up in the archived video. I also want to note it's possible to access a live transcript of tonight's event by clicking that little red live link in the top left and selecting View Stream, which will open the transcript in another browser window. If you have any Zoom questions or run into any difficulties, please don't hesitate to reach out to anyone with staff after their name, and we'll be glad to help. So too, if you experience or notice any maliciousness in the chat, please reach out to anyone on staff so that we can work to resolve that right away. We are grateful to you for joining us in the ongoing effort to build and nurture safer spaces where we can listen and learn together. Anna is now adding to the chat a link to our statement of safer spaces. Whenever we gather, sharing our time, even if not our physical space, we remain committed to building with you all an environment that challenges and resists ongoing structures of hierarchy and harm. If this event were taking place in our usual venue, we would be gathered together now in St. Mark's Church in the Bowery, where we have hosted events for more than 50 years. St. Mark's Church was built over the site where Peter Stuyvesant constructed his family chapel in 1660. Stuyvesant enslaved 40 people, and in his time as Director General of New Netherlands increased the population of enslaved Africans in the colony, whose stolen lives and labor were used to construct the buildings and streets on this stolen land. St. Mark's Church is located on the unceded homeland of the Lenape people, Lenape-Hoking. I am speaking to you tonight from what is called Sunset Park in Brooklyn, which is the unceded homeland of the Canarsie, a Munsee-speaking band of Lenape people. A neighborhood whose waterfront was redlined in the 1930s, a waterfront that is now the site of Municipal Detention Center, a federal prison where 1,600 people are currently experiencing incarceration. As we gather across various neighborhoods and states, it gives me occasion to remember that it's not just some of the land that was stolen or some of the land that needs to be returned, but all of it. It reminds me too that to return the land is not a matter of transferring capitalist ownership, but, as many Indigenous thinkers have taught us, a radical rethinking of ownership and belonging, centering Indigenous autonomy and active relationality and responsibility. To reiterate Gloria Anzaldua's assertion, this land was Lenape-Hoking always and is and will be again. Anna is putting a link to a map in the chat now, not to endorse it as complete, but to invite you to join us in learning continually about the land we occupy, its history and ties, as a path towards deeper accountability. Thank you for reflecting on this with me. It is now my great honor to turn it over to Hannah Black to introduce Gabrielle Octavia Rucker.
Thank you so much. What a lovely introduction, and super happy to be part of this event and the whole mentoring program, which is really special. So here's the thing I pre-wrote to introduce Gabrielle. I'm not 100% sure which exact poems she's reading, so I'm excited to see. The larger gaze of a whole world, or something that believes itself to be one, throws its shadow sometimes over the sharp precision of Gabrielle Octavia Rucker's sight, which is trained both deeply inward and deeply outward. In response to these worldly prompts and threats arising from love and labor, she summons a lightness of step and a capacity to hold her sense of herself gently with curiosity amid the impossibility of escape. Even if the phones are listening in, she writes, we must remain incoherent. The abyss of the false world is repudiated by Gabrielle's attention to the surface detail of a day, its cutlery, its accessories, its attendant memories, in order to scoop out some other further down kernel, quote from another of her poems, below another life simmers. Gabrielle's poems sometimes resemble the detailed recipes of love spells or hate spells, with a similar invocation of the magical and real names of more or less ordinary things repurposed to spectacular new uses. Quote, ginkgo biloba in the mineral water gone sour. These are just lines I liked and tried to express what I liked about them. Gabrielle's poetry is sensory and pragmatic, not just the miracle pragmatism of a kind of witchcraft, but an understanding that the hard margins of the social persist even in the imagination, though its terms fluctuate. Quote, my ailments are without expiration. Someone is always laughing in my face. Each year I become more legal, end quote. Although Gabrielle and I have only been working together for a little while now, it is a great pleasure and honor to see her grow and explore as a writer and artist, to talk with her about how we all as artists have to acquire a kind of rhythmic sense of the time that writing takes and makes, and to watch her frame and reframe some super abundant inner landscapes. We recently discussed how, since she moved to New Orleans, I hope she doesn't mind me mentioning this, she has been compelled to spend a lot of time throwing pots and other ceramics on a kick wheel, thinking of an endless circle and or an embodied meditation that produces things that the hand can use. I know that Gabrielle's capacity for expression is constantly seeking out and sinking into new forms, but it never ends up too far from poetry. Thanks, I'm excited to hear you read.
Thanks. Oh gosh, that was so nice. If I wasn't on screen, I would cry. Okay. I'm gonna start reading a few poems. Have a longer piece. I'm gonna end with some more poems, and I'm not gonna talk too much because I don't have anything to say. The first one I'll be reading, I have to read on my computer, and it is the only kind of like work in progress. Like I wrote this 2 days ago. Have not read it out loud, so we're gonna start there and then just lean into it. The working title for this is Fighting Sleep for Snails Steak. This morning, despondently staring through the center of everything set before me, blue light, an amber glass, silver Darjeeling, the riddled arithmetic of an essay wherein I catch a glimpse of myself. Since the 2008 recession, I'd see the level of suffering steadily increase as the government enacts cuts that have made life ever more difficult for Black people, and that, to my mind, constitute a campaign of social cleansing. Derica Shields, A Heavy Non-Presence, 2021. As a child, I liked to read music, and one day something like a voice spoke for me and rendered that symbolism dormant. I've maintained a superstition that discourages me from daydreaming, or rather interrupts the process, so that there are many threads left buffered, all in the interest of preservation. To say, however final a feeling, I think nothing will truly end with me. Faithfulness will be tested insofar as faithfulness can be tested. If you can make it to the tree and back, if you can wake from out under the absence of clocks, walk cloaked in your full hypnosis forward, there will be a reward. I recognize it as an uncomfortable shape. Not everyone reacts well when you stand by a coffee pot complaining, or tone insinuate a looming instability by claiming that no, I simply cannot die. The surveillance industry is omnipresent. It is at the border with mass security companies make billions of dollars from contracts that test surveillance mechanisms on migrants and refugees. Harsha Walia and Aisha A. Sidi, I hope I'm saying that right, on the Real Migrant Crisis 2020. Imagine for a moment someone believed in your experience without you having to transcribe it in a book and then defines contents from whatever prescribed unreliability you admittedly feels comfortable in. It goes unquestioned, the order of life and the details in which it unfolded, even the oddities such as the blackout shared by your sister or the mishap with the fur on the couch. Everything, it seems, always hang in that one apartment complex. On behalf of those looking over me, I have chosen to spend my days loving as best I can. One way or another, this cycle of evil will indefinitely end. The earth will take everything back in blood for future knowledge to be fed. Get into the secret ingredient. Wake up crying to Beverly Glen Cleland. Chew on ringtone nostalgia downstairs. You soon knocking as the poem churns. The chanters were ecstatic, drunk with words. When the xylophones speak, everyone experiences the meaning of poetry. Maloma Somé of Water and Spirit, 1994. In lieu of television, I've known the mirror to be easing enough entertainment. Even when I glimpse, I am rarely taking thing in, but am happy to waste my eyes this way, forever if I must see before myself split secrets, my special tongue. It is through language that you and I are able to now sit and talk with each other, develop a mechanism to understand one another. Language is entirely the point. Sylvia Winter, What Will Be the Cure, 2021. Okay. Now I'm going to paper. I don't have my glasses. I'm missing. I don't know where they are. They're not next to me. Okay. So this is maybe the only poem that has any type of note, which is tomorrow is my father's birthday. His initials are WAR, and they spell out war. So this is called Daughter of War. Laughter in the crop of war. Vernal equinox, a stage for the sun. Good Aries rides down and warm sweet, any flower reeked semen. Angel moving in song, I get to smile off of it. Trees, at times lethal. The knowledge of blood growing the grass, eons of holy metalwork failed man, a body of philosophy crumbled as it always is. Peak light on Chichen Itza, shack dragging his shell hot, unlightening, my last life lost vengeance, the scent of pine needle roasting hair, an ancient beadwork, an ancient seed beget to be beadwork, the brunt of bread and tobacco shooting a lifeless ellipsis. See how high the plants sink. Bone craves to be arrow melted, magma and a black saucer trailing, every chicken begging to be bled. Give me back to fire. Pray for me in the chamber, that the wet stone of each hell might claim me, rid me of any holiness learned. Okay, I lied because now I'm going to talk about this one. I wrote this poem for my twins, Valen and Sean, who obviously Sean here right now. And I think this is a good time to just thank Sean for their friendship. If I go into it more, again, I'll start crying. I've had like a very teary day, but in like a shedding way. But yeah, this is for Valen and it's called Butter Sunday. Come to the apartment. We are so blessed. Vanellope, unloved, sips from glass. Sean unravels the leather backgammon, sticks the sourdough in the oven, while I, who know nothing of bread, keep peering, interrupting the conversation with psychic spallation. And last, a warmongering spirit took hold of me. We still speak of the blood, years over the village kiln roasting livers with garlic and salt, filet gut licking butter, Armstrong grinding peppercorn, braiding hair. Now it's somber fun, giggling over dreams of home applesauce, detection of ever-growing fickleness, an ear out onto other side, oolong in the hydro flask churning. Now human, crawling down the hallway, all fours crying, Lambrusco hip rolling through small space, well fed, my only consolation. This one's called Brain Food. No more writing about revenge outside in the kitchen. The banana pudding process is keeping me up late again. 40 minutes whisking, 2 batches, 5+ hours chilled. There's one last cigarette in the nightstand, waiting for the evening the Laraji meditations fail, and violence asks to be finished by fire and vapor. I look under the desk for nothing, find instead Susan Sontag, regarding the pain of others, the bookmark inside pinned on the words Apollo's knife. It happens that you can be in conspiracy against yourself. I've ruined my body for comfort when daydreams were scarce, toyed around with the preview settings and got this. There's nowhere to speak about what didn't happen. All I have are these poems and no kind of knowing outside of that. Ginkgo biloba in the mineral water gone sour. Okay. This is practice for your birthday. Woe is me. All these eyeballs aimed at this quick, round heart, and all those gowns I was not given and never enough counter space to cook. Copper pots all over the place, and you so cool bragging about how easy it is to make money, explaining why you had to quit drinking coffee. Never mind, I'm broke and never buy espresso unless I think I might be on the verge of knocking out. Yes, there were some years I took to cigarette smoke, but never enough for me to think I should stop. Not everything is a habit. For better or worse, some of us have a strong hold on our personalities, and that's the difference between what you think and what I think. We don't need to be any more than we already are. All those days we lost bickering back and forth within ourselves, moody in the kitchen, scrutinizing what I might have meant when I refused the cake. In reality, it's not such a complicated thing. Sometimes I'm simply not that hungry, and we had been driving for hours across highways listening to songs only you knew. And at the time, I was curious about it, cautiously tapping my fingers on the shell of your back, trying to decipher how I crawled out from under my girlhood to here, passenger seated in the parking lot, biscuit diner, watching you self project onto some hillbilly yellow pickup truck when I could have just went home like my gut said as we came rolling down the hill and only I marveled at the big black tree engulfing the street lamp. So this from thing I guess I'm writing. I wrote it already, and part of it is going to be published by Black Mass Publishing. They're on Instagram. I'm not at the moment, but be so interested that is coming out in a few months or something. I actually am going to be doing an extended version because I kind of gave them the half-baked version, the loose edit. So this is called Death Rattle. Okay. In my mind, there is a block of unchanging scenery. You come clearly, your face quartered handsomely by a shadow cast down from the ladder leading up the roof. I follow the memory where it leads me, out through the kitchen window and down onto the landing that bridges the apartment to the roof of the short house next door. I remember everything as if I'm still there. The ledge where the neighbor's cat slept, the tree out front that juts through the gap between the houses, leaning in and catch the light of the sun. This is where I have kept you, on that ladder waving down at me where you will never change. You float up the genie, all smoke and familiarity, but nothing I can grasp. I can summon you when I want, here alone in my most current apartment, in my most current bedroom, where I watch the big tree across the backyard in the wind. I'm fortunate in many ways. I know this. My life has been pressed upon me in such a way that whatever is wrong with me is not apparent right away. I have my general facilities, an apartment, a job. There is to the observer nothing urgent about me. I am often dressed well and have what seems to be an above average looking face. I pay most of my bills on time, sometimes buy expensive leather shoes, and am, for the most part, a reliable person. But whole self cannot be evaluated this way. It is clear I've been corrupted, that someone has taken something from me, and I must tell you about my vacancies. It is bad timing that I have come to be the person that I am. History is working against me. Global, national, familial, sexual, social. Someone is always laughing in my face. I try to map it out. I've made an ongoing timeline of every traceable violence that has directly affected me. The manuscript stretches miles and miles long, scarred by a chicken pox of catastrophe so that it is barely legible. On it, I can see the beginnings of my name etched out and overlaid by event. In the grand scheme of things, I am a small occurrence. If I'm remembered, it won't be for very long. It doesn't matter much. I'm the type of person that cannot be reanimated. There is no one that can call me back. Within me, I carry memories that no one can believe. Haunted by a psychic immortality, landscapes and beings tethered to an ancient liminality, caught for a moment in the peripheral atmosphere of my feeling. I once attempted to make sense of these visions. It was fruitless. I tried to banish them and suffered greatly. I think of existence like a kite, something that must be tied down or else it will come to its nature. Everything collides. Life leads to memory. Memory leads to aftermath. Perception, I learned, is an interlude of one's instrumentation, a solo ritual. If I am clairvoyant, I confuse myself. In a dream, I speak over you, your body bloodied, rooted to the base of a tamarack tree. You ask for my help, but when I reach down to lift you up, your lips curl back and you bite at me. I look on with horror as you foam from the eyes and mouth. Your hair lifts and your face melts away. Your curls fall flat and coat your face like oil. Your body begins to bubble, becoming a pool of bile soaked into the earth. Where you once laid, a swarm of insects crawl. I wake up unable to move. I have the impression that something is pinning me under its belly and see for a moment the large pincers of an obsidian beetle hovering over me. I lie, fixed to the mattress, sweating. For 9 minutes, I lay there helpless as a beam of sunlight stretches itself across my face. Then I'm released. The symbolism is easy enough to pick apart. I no longer recognize you. You are changed to me. You have been spoiled, taken over, trapped and sinking in a personal cesspool of your own making. I'm curious, my therapist says when I tell her about it the next day. In the dream, did you touch anything? The question catches me off guard. What, if any, is the significance of my own hand, my own touching in a dreamscape purely crafted by me? What is the importance of my body in a reality I am moving only through spirit? I throw my eyes to the ceiling, feigning thought as if I don't remember. I never mention how, just before the dream ends, I bend down low towards the bile, dig my knees into it, and grab one of the beetles out of the swarm and pocket it. The quicker I can escape this place, the quicker you can evacuate me from your mind, the better. I skip this week's session and rent a car. I leave a voicemail on my therapist's cell explaining that I won't be in this Thursday. I drive 4 hours upstate to a cabin I have borrowed from a friend of a friend. I can stay for as long as I like, on the one condition that I clean out the drain pipes while I'm there. The drive out of the city is quiet. I take back roads up hillsides, speed through the empty 2-lane highways that connect gas station to gas station, each one pimpled with the pink shaved heads of motorcycle gangs. I stop on the way up for groceries and again to swim in a creek I found taking a wrong turn. I came up here because I thought that, like the city, you would fall away, that the distance between us could be stretched so thin that it would finally snap. I want to be released, but in every tree I see you perched. In its static, I hear your voice wrinkled in the radio waves singing. The radio fuzzes in and out. I climb the telescoping ladder up towards the roof. The drains are not so terrible. I untie the broom I slung to my back with my headscarf and start sweeping them out. Mixed in the leaves is mud and bird shit, 1,000 dry cicada shucks, one dead and molten golden pulver with a twisted wing. At the bottom of the drain lay leaves thin like paper, their decay held together by nothing but brittle veins. They fall apart with the softest drag of the broom, disintegrating into the rest of the filth. No internet, no cellular signal. There is a landmine, but I am out of that habit. I spend the rest of the trip staring off of the porch into the crescent of trees surrounding the small valley dotted with wildflowers that slopes off the front of the cabin. It is the first thing I do in the morning. I sit with my coffee, watching the sky warm. Grass quivers as the nocturnal rush back into their homes. Birds sweep down from indigo sky, picking frantically sleepless vermin. For once, you've fallen away. Your code has stopped running, and I am bright again, transparent like the leaves on the roof, held together by nothing but my strong self. How long, I wonder, does it take for a hard time to become a hard life? And how long before that hard life manifests into some kind of inexpressible malady? So far away from home, I begin to think about my real life, the one I spend most of my days holding up, the thing that has created this barrier between you and I. Once again, once the sun fully rises, you are back again. I look at the green of the landscape before me, expecting to see your face framed by the dark gaps in the forest foliage. By the time the trip is over, I'm changed, but not cured. Only the roof has been cleaned. Through the chaos of this place, I have found a thread, a poorly tucked seam that ties it all together. Leaning out of my window, I feel confident the world is very much ending. Everywhere I hear static noise around me. I wander my life bereft. I take a back seat and observe everything around me. The humming picks up. I point it out to people. I try and explain to them. A plane flies overhead. A noisy bus passes and they gesture towards it like this is the noise I meant. I try to find a casual metaphor, white noise, rattle. Each day goes by the same. I wake up, some feelings linger, others drop away. I plan what I can, knowing so much of it will suffer from happenstance at the end. I try to use my mind and body in the best ways possible, but there is a drop between the two. The body can never catch up. I leave around the same time each day, slipping through cars to cross the diagonal street to the train. I climb the stairs, pass through, climb more stairs until I reach the platform. I stand among the few trees that flank the sides of the elevated tracks. I wonder how tall they might have grown if the tracks weren't here at all. Almost perfectly, they seem to avoid one another, the metal, the nature. They do not tangle. A gust of wind blows by, sending the thin twigs crowning nearest the sleek metal bridge. I inspect the situation carefully. Never once do they touch. They keep a livable distance. I think on sadly about it. Containment seems to have settled down on everything. On the train, I watch the skyline. I've been living like this for too long, crammed inside myself, seeing only small bits of day. This morning is orange. The sun is low and fat, casting the buildings in a strange copper green light. The train hits a turn and falls into shadow. I'm imagining catastrophe again. There are 1,000 ways I could die on this train and a million more I might suffer from by just living. I look up and the buildings have gone back to rust. The sun has moved, casting everything in a premature light. I watch the faces of the passengers, admiring each one of them for as long as I can manage. No one admits much radiance. Everything is a little bit uglier than before, everyone a little more gray. Sometimes it seems this is all there is, a memory of you. After that, this lonely place. Once over the phone, you told me that we were surely in hell. I can see you somehow in the car with the phone pressed up against your ear. I can see the tall, healthy tamarack trees swaying out through the driver's side window. Can see the way your cheeks move with effort to form a tired-looking smile. Steam rises, leaking from the hems of the concrete slabs that make up the sidewalk. The saplings on the corner block hiss. Behind the fog is the Rite Aid, and beyond that, the sprawling housing complex. I cut through the heat, holding my breath. I cross the street, stepping over a pool of neon green, a color I have only ever seen sitting stagnant in the street. I've noticed that I have no reflection in this kind of liquid. I look for some kind of outline of myself as I pass over. I see nothing, not even a shadow or a silhouette of a cloud passing by overhead. I feel the steam grab hold of my clothing. My glasses fog over, sending everything into a momentary haze. A feeling like paranoia surrounds me. Everywhere I turn, I see an ending, an untucked thread pulling the tapestry apart. I begin to feel dizzy. I cling on to a light pole in panic, convinced that if I don't, I might throw myself into the street. Out of the sub-city smog, nothing looks as it should. I find myself turned backward in my errands, disoriented by the daylight and the dooming dreams. So much of my life is lost upon me, and only the pollen of sensation lingers. Feeling no longer interests me. I want a deeper kind of sincerity, a commitment to something bloodless, a truth meant to stain some great and tender part of my personality. There is nowhere to talk about what happened. I've been loving, I've been angry, I've been empty, I've been saved by my own hand. Backdrop against metallic curtains that shift from silver to green. A large mirror in the north wall reflects midsummer light. I let your hands frame your speech. Touch your hair. Feel the hot iron of your hands over me. What cruelness has sent us here? Why is it that all I am left with is memory? I see you so clearly, walking next to me up the rolling hill to the park. I can see you so clearly sitting across me in the dirt, pants the same color as the ground the same color as your skin, all of it dying under an oppressive modernity. Outside, a weak blue light flickers on and off. The beetle in my pocket starts pinching. This will not last, I confess to myself. The big tree agrees. The birds too, huddled together on the love wire, waiting to. Two more poems, and then this one is called I Don't Say Goodbye, I Only Say Ciao. The bloody lens holds firm between the mystery and us. Two shiny crows tapping intelligently, glass of rain. Please do not make me do the human things. I must tend to many plankton realities, must be off with my better self, 1,000,000 faces lined along the mirror tunnel and in each that same tricky knot begging. You couldn't know how long I suffered over it, the long waiting at the end of the maze. I can only guess what you think I'm after, stretching in the mirror while you rattle on about sabotage or something else, no tension springing the body. Okay, so before I read this one, I just wanted to thank everyone at Poetry Project for hosting this reading, for giving me the opportunity, you know, to read, and also for the fellowship has been extremely helpful. I've been writing since in the third grade. It's, if you know me, you know it's the only consistent part of my personality. Everything else is extremely chaos driven and malleable. And so I've had a really interesting and year, I think, of writing, and feel much closer and deep secure in my writing. And that's for many reasons. Thanks to many, many people who I can't all name. I think many of them, they are, whether they're here or not. But also to programs like this, which just kind of, can give you a boon, and allow you to think about your work and give you the space to think about your work in a way that you never had. Because for a long time, and for most people, even very accomplished writers, I don't think this is a difference between being, emerging, which is a worm in the earth, but whatever. Emerging or not, people need space to create the things they create. I hate that we live in a time and a space where people are subjected to jobs, to capitalism, to just evil kind of lives and breathes around us. But I think that being able to do what they want to do, and work towards, I think, their calling, whatever that might be, even if their calling is literally laying on the ground and staring out of a window, I think that's calling. Uh, any small avenue that allows people to do that, I think, is extremely valuable. And thank you to everyone here who's listening to me read. Whether you've heard me read before or not, it means a lot. I would rather be in person with you. I'm much more, I seem much more friendly in person, I think. And then lastly, this poem is for me, and it's called I Love You, Gabrielle, which is a title from, sorry, I'm also like about to cry. I had a like really crying day. I have no clue why. But it's called I Love You, Gabrielle, and it's after Borges and I, which I think you should read Borges and I. It's a very short essay. Anyway, let me collect myself. I love you, Gabrielle. Marveling from my high rock, I toy with my fate. Look upon the silhouette stretched over the kickball field wearing my shape. That's all God is, a shadow cast long wearing my shape. Behind me, fire in the city. Why am I crying? Behind me, fire in the city. A siren set off by the flick of a hand. I recall the street. I remember thinking, oh no, no, I won't die here, and going about the rest of my life with the same conviction. I know one day I'll be proven wrong and the great laughter will be aimed down on me. I intend to slip right through it, fall clean from rock into tall shadow. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Gabrielle. Those poems just amaze me, and I know that we all at the Poetry Project feel just deeply lucky to get to be involved in any way in supporting that work. And thank you so much, Hannah, for that truly beautiful, thoughtful introduction. It really is so wonderful to get to support this relationship, which is leading to so much brilliant work. Thank you both so much. And I'm now so glad and so honored to get to turn it over to Fred Moten, who will be introducing Sean D. Henry Smith. Thank
you. Thank you very much, Laura, and thank you, Gabrielle, for the lovely reading. And thank you too, Hannah. It's a pleasure for me to be here with all of you and with everyone else to introduce Sean. The symposium where those inclined to love and study would go to talk about love and study can also be referred to as the feast. There, certain delights are on display to be enjoyed. The Black Symposium is bent to and away from itself like a chain or a wound cord or an unbound cord or a cluster. Not only because love of study is drenched in blood in the Black Symposium, but also because the study of love is tightly held by iron hands. The study of love is mandatory in being handled. It's mandatory to those who study so grasp is burned away. To burn takenness away, the Black Symposium turns away from itself to the way it turns away from being enjoyed and being on display. It turns to show itself to itself in open secrecy, turning on itself in love to say, see, here, here. Saying such seeing and hearing is a kind of terrible delectation, a set of flavors born in the terror of being tasted, mouth felt, torn. So the Black Symposium turns to acidity in its sweetness. It longs for what's cooked down low and bitter and full of nothing on the way to fullness, turned from meant to starve on gristle and awful to rapture in the Black Symposium. The Black Symposium is a feast for the senses of those who constantly, chronically hunger for the intangible. The feast for the senses turns to what's intelligible in the photograph, in the breaking, blurring, brining of words, in the violent rue and drown of stolen recipe. Sean D. Henry Smith convenes the Black Symposium as a deliberate, collaborate, immersive experiment in how we all read so pretty together. They are and work a radical plurality of gifts that turns to and away from itself, all pre-referentially awry on palate, indented skin, and offshoots of shoreline. Their grammar is not only generative, but geographical, topographical really, on the way to typography, site to the table they prepare, not as a planet, but terrain, served in a terrain of fish head stew. And you should know that it's here, Sean says, when you're hungry. Sean is a poet, performer, photographer, and physicist of the generally and undeniably and unabashedly culinary. They are the author of Wild Peach, of Body Text, of Flotsam Sweet, A Strange and Precarious Life, or How I Won't Leave the Dance Floor Till It's Out of My System. And they are the co-author with Imani Elizabeth Jackson of Consider the Tongue. And that's not all. It's a pleasure to introduce them to you now.
Oh, thank you. Wow. Yeah. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really moved by your introduction, Fred, and it's great to see you. Um, it's great to see you, Hannah. It's great to see you, Gabrielle. And it's great to be in a room full of people in the project. I wow. I just didn't expect to be so out of breath already. I'm just gonna get into it. Copper-clad auction afterglow, what have you. Sculptural earth spewing riddle gimmicks, second tongue, whisper secrets to God with a little G so they don't get so lofty. Here is a new gospel iris choir in augmented sixth. We all read so pretty together. Cauldron boil hot, wood burn crimson, not mistaken for rust. Deep onyx, no evil black day is every day of my fucking life. Black magic is every gale I can't see, but I've lived it. This seance won't bring back the dead, but don't stop me from trying. Start from seed. Ancient paranoia and the medicinal project, the enduring rogue apothecary, the garden you carry with you. Enough ovular, please name the thing as is if you can. Reflect honestly or not at all. Reflect to me as I reflect to you. Feed and be fed. My shadow is bigger than me now, far away in land fat, eating the object of life, aiding the object of life, finding the roots that proceed. Sometimes water more than flower, sometimes soil circles circumference. If it doesn't cost me my life, it doesn't cost anything at all. Yeah, I'm reading from Wild Peach, but I'm going to read some new things after and in between. This predates the perennial, a gesture of quietude and its denial, gentle hum, our glaring hymn, pray all falsehoods rot. Triplet, triple tongue, trickle, thick tongue to protect what is ours, and the slippage of time. Like how when I say black, I mean everything, and the destruction of time. August and its collateral absentia, linear dysfunctions are long overdue. Disrupt the grotesque. We demand a rabid beauty, rancid botany, what we are owed. Incessant intercessor, millipede monotony, when the tongue trips and falls out, falls all over me, all over the ensemble's warring testimony. Of tongue-thick atrophies apropos of nowhere, thick-tongued alibi, hushing lull and tide. Oral aquarium roll by, bale heavy, hydrogenous. This is between me and you, days in debt, indebted to day. Um, Gabrielle, the Butter Sunday poem. I remember when you first sent it to me, and I think sourdough had appeared for us, like in our like writing at the same time, and so this is towards you. A little known fact, the most rambunctious meter, X only wrote poetry when there was nothing else, all the cattle gone astray. We remain nameless, specifically song of the morning fowl. Where's her big spring, her copper honey? How can we more articulately correct our violent misreadings? Wars against our natural order, I'd rather be redacted patiently. Praying in solitude, fill in the blanks, amphora, amorphous, amphibious beginnings. This is where I mention the music. In Kissy this time, second direction, quivering, pulsing. And the sourdough came from so far, back to the task at hand. There are the evils I know, and then I learn of others. These years were predicted by many. The whims of capital can only end one way. I can't blame you for the incoherence that was mere distance. In the last days we found certainty where we could. We saw the end of reason. Hope became the only intimacy. Oil of oregano, they quietly burn within, almost immediately. Clap along if you feel me. Mm, mm. Soft life in context. I comprehend how the sky shrinks in the day by virtue. Gold soak, seek, soot, sought, crumbling charcoal in my burner, brass and brazen, frankincense for miles, thickens the air for days at a time without pause. Lounge and lung, a soft bowl of whipped delicate dollop grain graze and honey drip drizzle, let the record play. Safe in the hands of love, let the record show. 1,000 pounds of wool over, under, a soft memory like deerskin, like raindrops, a wine that tastes of lilies. There you sit, feet up, as if you need no one, as if you'll never die. Hmm. Unruly temporalities. This is one that I worked on with Dream Crusher on their record, Another Country. Um, yeah. Unruly temporalities, unruly narrator. I'm just looking to feel small in the right contexts, in the vast beauty of things, preferably. For all I know is wildness, wilderness finds me when I'm out, finds me when I'm not looking, beckons when I call, takes over at night, howls till high noon, unfurl into madness, an alias by any other name. Alembic antagonist, auspice antinomy, Afro-androgyny, we reek of it in good company. Everybody's hearing it, squealing barometer, kettle black block with misery midnight knowledges, darkness, smog, and flash. An earthen rumble inside the ravenous hive, the gospel of love and protest, let me go off for a minute. The sounds of a world at its beginning, at its onto, transformation by any means. Get in there, stay in it. Narrative at the level of the line, move the air as it demands. Greeting feedback, grating amaranth, permeating frankincense, sliver linger, smoke in the monolith. The bones of the song begin shaking, latch on into grumbling welcome. Sound bitten, bothering, bother, body gather, lift, pull, tear, pull, push, roll. Organic choreography, mean spirited when I need to be, for the best of us. Queer seraphim black wing the night, vertiginous in the hard glow, flicker, fuck, shutter, blast, blinking in the blistering sun, stunned out of ennui. How lightning breeds thunder, light stems that know you, drain you, that summon the long ago. Glances, gazes, gauzes, goozing, shattered glass underfoot. What brings me to you is by definition rebellion together. our breathing scream. Asymmetric sonics breathes back life into what breathes for us, bleeds us for. Nihilist longevity, all praise daughters of resentment. Our sour tongues thirst for water, and we will not stop seeking our satisfaction until we are no longer thirsty. That would be out of character. Mouth faint aroma link up in that other place, noisy interiority. There is nothing, and then there is life. Eyes on you and in you hold and heed onto inner oculus, into ornate orbitals, nonetheless nocturnal masses notwithstanding. Now I know what I know. May it remain unchartered, chatter of late singing mockingbirds. It is daybreak no matter when awakened. How else to halt the haunting but to avoid the night? All but half the hall, hoarse with remembering. A mercurial inevitabilities bend what was anticipated, flout an already broken relativity. You speak tenderly amidst the swelling of air, spoke of leap years somberly, I dare not repeat the spell. Exponential, the volume of rose bush where you live blushed forth in bloom second and third and fourth time round. Useless in your eagerness to learn all things in part, to part as you please. Burning all over bruised fruit, baby, what a time we're in. Worn thin by the very ambition, darting through thorn-thrown twig metropolis. You take it all for granted, returning nest empty, still mocking its very nature. Remedies 2. These are the remedies poems are kind of, I guess they're a series, but they're something that's emerging out of dreams, and sometimes they come true, and and then I guess they become memories. At the point in which I had finally found the courage to sleep, 3 on either side of the clock, beauty waits for no one, and my intention is to catch up with it. The absolute worst thing to fixate on as extended metaphor regarding displacement and morality steps onto center stage, a shadow seen before a figure. The grooming practices of daddy longlegs, foot in mouth, one at a time, drives me up the wall into my own twisted nesting corner. You can have the whole bed, sheets too, honey. Daddy longlegs crawling across my bed again, 33 minutes after 3, on either side of the clock, on either side of the clock. Come back to this. Wild Peach. Find ourselves in the afterskin of chat and tell, Wild Peach, I hear you and dream. Unbounding clarity, the reimagined and the forgotten, the unforgivable. Flaw struck, fire strike, no flags will remain. Crystal cut, light catch, the project is avoidant, vast vagrant, and I run to and froth, fog mouth consuming the alternate moistures, the molds of my inquiry spreading spore, porous flower, pumice, the afterthought of charcoal, the city burning beneath forever. Run and tell rays, roses, a breath, a broth, wild peach, meat, fruit, mouth, bones, take tender attack. My serpent-bellied soliloquy, I love it when you laugh big and your temple swells. Shadowless city, wind bring body to the brick source. Triangulation of dislocality, rock steady, sour stream, sour juice. Hear the spaces between the outpour. Deep scratch. Delight the light, the lit, just outside the city, salt scrape, another city atrophied. Whole lot of white people talking about state birds, Afro apple aristocracy. Won't catch me out here in cider season, bring it to me if you know it's good. Endless tundra crunch, slide on me nappy and docile, winter is bad for my posture. Seeds on ground, TV in all the wrong places, side by side. I can't be any more frantic in general. Copacetic in nature, out of order, some with justice. There's more sympathy when she sings it. Muscle lunge, shined in flesh memory. These things reoccur. Hot process, trying not to be precious about it. Soon come, itago itad. Slippery pink skies stack, hog proximity don't mean shit. Mortal, mortal. Hmm. I don't want to do that one right now. I'm gonna come back to it. Hmm. Fish head stew. Hold high for all to see. Tautology for now. Caught in the joy lock, in the dreadlock, the chokehold. Here I hermit, cross hairs and fingers too. Bones we boil for fortune and forgiveness. The sludge of eye whites he slurps to taunt the children. You don't need a father to teach you the hierarchy of fish and flesh. Salt can cure and kill. Hmm. Sorry. Last Thursday, this one was published in The Recluse, and wow, I guess it's about a year to the date that it's based on in the sort of documentary that it is. Um, yeah, it's another one that Gabrielle's in. Yeah, well, um, okay, sorry. Last Thursday, over drinks at the bar above the theater at the end of all that was familiar yesterday, she questions the fallings of little kings, nudging the black leather piece into its lanky isosceles slot, safe with its own for now. Communal forms don't negate the need for nor the sacredness of secrecy. A long game for real. You get out what you put in, and the rest is chance, it seems. What is left? What hasn't yet been done? We make our earthly return with cosmic determination, futile resistance. We operate under honest direction and earnest scarcity. Live the short life with your hearth on your sleeve, ear to the ground. Further still, she anticipated the chaos. Apparently they all did. Some even knew as children. I break into hive and tremor as my spine remembers the frigid Pacific and how no one believed me. Of course it is devastating, and I won't hold back in telling you how. When it's raining out, and again power begets power. The state is unabashedly delighted in its carnage, yes. The years spent unable to beg, plead, eye of ice, heart of stone, yes, you ought to take it personally. Growing pains well into old age. Her frustration becomes me. I carry it with me even now. Why are we back here? We ponder together daringly, letting resentment sharpen around us, as the porcupine teaches. My body is my defense in the face of imminent enclosure. Its talents remain unburied. Sonorous and bitter utterances, performative dilly-dally, perhaps are bat to take a bow, detail the determining factors. This weather in which blood bursts from my fingers, sludges in my toes, cruel moon hangs high, and the dice again rolls. Remedies one. Hmm. Remedies one. What can I know of this life but what it cost me? Pretending to love these patterns of negotiation, pretending the double world was acceptable, the skin beneath the skin made hell of our hell, the source from which the source draws rectifies its embellishment, reifies its abandon. Another way, in a room filled with overturned bottles, the ceiling fan turns, knowing not the relief it provides, but damns with its clicking. We lie awake at night, wondering would it be better to sweat out our sheets, turn the thing off. We remember stillness as we enact it, hoping to quiet our body as to cool it. And briefly, I recall how slowly Granny eat. I see her in her dining room chair. Yeah, there's something something happening in the sky right now. I'm trying to figure out what the teariness we're all in. Uh, um, hmm. There was an order to these things, and it's always an in undoing, I guess. um, I'm gonna read one more from Wild Peach, and then I'll read um, um, another thing that I'll introduce when I'm reading it. Weep, sow, harvest rain, soaks the ceiling, weighted in ways unbeknownst to me. This grief can't possibly be mine alone. Still life, life still, collapsing of scenes. It all comes crashing, 7:30 a.m., and the dormant mold spores make known their estate. Eat all the wood has to offer. I digress, resist autobiography. I once lived with no resentments. Figs from out front, chilled summer soups. Even the bleeding was romantic in that mundane way. Slicing an edgeless finger, timeless blue vein, water and window panes rolling off, etc. It stung more than it hurt. A grudgeless life looked good on you, he tells me, looking at old pictures. Okay. And this last one is I'm I'm thinking about it as a review of um, William Grieve's film Nation Time, but it wasn't always that. Um, yeah. Never created, never destroyed. Every light's wave informing every present reality. The precise sampling of the air within the air, the occupants of space and time gathering in mass, great breath before the formation of systems and worlds and orbitatory patterns among orbitatory patterns, time pressed, stretched, and folded, the edges aligned in perfect touch. Synchronous accumulation propels to this very grand particular. Particulate augmentation orients ordering toward negotiated transference with as many variables as it can possibly manage, magnitude beyond measure. Communicative gestures at every turn and experiment in extending the very same great breath, making it whole, being wholly enveloped by it. Native intangibilities solidified and expressed as language under imposed language. Breathweight reminds us we already knew how to talk. And here again, the sun-hot dust of the earth kicked up instinctive rhythmic response. Cloud of propelled candor, backchat held back long as necessary. A divergent state to usher us along. Stuttered and chanted vocal fluctuation, burped and bounce, crystalline ignition, an attempt at the world. There is how we speak, then there is what we say. Such is the act of the frame, precise suctioning within the vacuumous multitude, or one way to turn on it, or the angle from which I'm witnessing it now. Robert Moog offers Quincy Jones a new tool and he hears the horn a new way. And America hears a synth on TV for the first time. Ironside, a bleeding siren the year before the year we're headed back to. 36 years later, there it is in Kill Bill, the blaring horn-born synth reminds a vicious memory. Never created, never destroyed. One of her last samples. The ground proves itself ready to become tomorrow every day, ready to facilitate another form, Black origami folding back into yesterday. What was this paper before it was this shape? Jay Lynn in Gary, Indiana knows the machine by hand, built it in an automobile city, knows a thing or two about the factory. Yesterday it was nation time right very there, and William Greaves was thinking about the first law of thermodynamics when he was making symbiocytotaxoplasm in 1968. In 1972, he's still thinking about group dynamics and how important it is when Black people get together, even if we don't know what we want, even if we don't want the same thing. Maybe it was just to get together. Maybe it was 1972. We are mourning men and following the widows who held them up, who in turn are asked to uplift other men. On his own dime, Greaves films the National Black Political Convention. 4 slides in and he has brought us to the Atlantic. We must always acknowledge where we have started because we have only gotten this far, because this far leaves us still in struggle. The chairman of the Congress of African People, Amamu Amiri Baraka, is speaking to the delegations. He offers himself as their servant. In the music, talking with African visionary music, Motown, Black Forum, still 1972. Can you imagine something other than what you see? He's asking. I want to know why Michigan really walked out. I want to know what happened to that heartbeat, where I failed it. On stage, Sister Betty Shabazz is talking to Mrs. Coretta Scott King, voice to ear. The breath-supported hush intended for one other in the clamor of the high school gym, conference going heated. Sister Shabazz is looking straight on Mrs. King's profile, eyes searching. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. It's really great to be here with you all. It's 1 a.m. and I feel like all the things I want to say are trapped in perhaps exhaustion and perhaps the moon. But hopefully I said enough. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Sean. This reading has been so good. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so grateful. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Gabrielle. Thank you, Fred, for that beautiful introduction. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you all so much for being here. We would be honored and delighted to see you again next week. We have a reading with Serena Devi and Marie Buck. Serena Devi is also one of our ESP fellows, so you know that obviously those poems will be incredible. The following week, we have a reading with Arissa White and Ross Gay and a lecture with Lily Long Soldier. So there's just a lot of really exciting stuff coming up. We'd be so honored to see you there. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Take good care. We'll leave the Zoom room open for a while. People can, chat for a bit. We'll put on some music and take good care. Thank you so much. Good night.